Father Francis, buongiorno, buenos dias, buenos dias. I have an important message for you, and I think it's extremely important, and I hope you take the time to listen to it. Uh, but before I go on, you should know something about me. Who is this guy? Well, I'm a physician, a medical doctor. I've been involved in medical discovery, written books, but one thing you may know of as the substance called carnitine. I took it in from Europe when I was a young doctor in 1965. It took me 20 years working with my friend Dr. Claudio Cavazza, the late Dr. Claudio Cavazza, a Roman. We finally got it approved by our government for a fatal disease in children called carnitine deficiency. Also, and it's on my website if you can click on it, I've proposed the Doctor Note Act where physicians could volunteer for clinical research so we can test more drugs, more medical devices, and speed up medical discovery without success. Perhaps you're going to take a look. It's a 7-minute video. You can convince the Italian government or that of Argentina to pass the Doctor Note Act, and they will become the leading countries in medical discovery in the world. Many of us know or recognize that tradition in religion is no match for technology so far. With the oncoming of technology, religion has faded, belief in God has faded, as in Western Europe, and it's beginning here in the United States. And tradition, Judeo-Christian values, love your neighbor, keep your word, honor thy father and mother, disappearing from our culture. Now, you're on a mission, and I love it, to spread the message of Catholicism, which is broad, and it encompasses the messages of other religions, love in particular, love thy neighbor. And I have a hunch you're going to have a very, very difficult time for one simple reason, because technology is the enemy of God in the belief of God. In itself, of course, it's neutral. And there's a part of technology that's really not recognized as being a core factor in spreading the message, the anti-God message, the anti-Judeo-Christian message. And that's called scientism. Scientism is defined as you can know anything, you cannot know a thing unless it's through objective scientific technology or through logic. That is absurd. But that's what's spreading around. Now, scientism says that there is a godless evolution. God does not exist because we can't measure him. Okay? And in my letter to you, this is a letter following the video, of course. In my letter to you, I prove that this is just the opposite, that science indeed does support a God-based evolution, not the opposite, which is commonly believed, which is taught, and which is permeating our culture, causing chaos and destabilization. What I propose, this is very novel and very unique, but I call it the number theory of the human signaler. And basically it says this, and nobody has thought about this, and I thought about it, about 6 months ago, and I said, wow. In the body, a signal is something that makes something happen. In other words, nothing happens unless something makes it happen. Okay? So I started looking into the human body, the human mind, and I came up with this theory because observing all these numbers, I was astounded. For example, in the brain, what are they? 100 trillion synapses. You're a scientist, so you know what a synapse is. That connects neurons to neurons and sends messages. That's 100 trillion right now sending messages. And 1 second later, since I mentioned this, since I pointed to this, they are sending other messages, etc., etc. The volume of these signals in those 3 pounds of flesh, the brain, only 3 pounds, just this alone should astound everyone. But there are trillions of these things going on at the same time. Trillions. For example, in the total body, there are, I can't even mention this, You know what ATP is, the energy molecule. Look how many there are in the body. Would you look at that? I don't know how to give it a name. Okay? And they change every 3 minutes. So what we have is going on now, since I began talking to you, ATP has changed, going to ADP, back and forth, back and forth. Now there are trillions of these functions going on at the same time. So this says to me, something's going on here, because they're all going to do certain things. For example, my toenails are growing right now. My hair is falling out right now, and so is yours. My heart is beating. My kidneys are functioning. I'm breathing oxygen in. I'm doing everything. I'm speaking to you. My hands are moving. Trillions and trillions of signals going on. Incalculable. Now, how could this happen? By chance? No one can show that. No one can show that at all. Now it gets complicated, and we're getting into that quagmire of epistemology again. But you must remember now, the human singular, I don't know where it is, who it is, what it is, but it has to exist. But then it has two qualities. What does the singular do? What is the body like? There's mind and the physical body. Okay. So that human singular has to have those qualities to give to a human being, to transmit to that human being. Okay, now we stop there. Then I make a giant step, which I don't think is so giant. I don't think it's so giant. Think about this. Remember what I said, signals precede signals. So that human singular, whatever that may be, was signaled into existence by another signal. So those 7 billion people on Earth were signaled into existence. I postulate, A, that the singular has to exist, and B, who knows what it is, but it is not unreasonable scientifically now. I'm dealing with data here and now. I'm not dealing with evolution in the past, where nobody was there to look at it. It's all theory, speculations, radiation. We're dealing with signals now, more substance, more data, more scientific testing done. It is not unreasonable to say that from the point of view of evolution, that the human signaler was signaled in by a higher level signaler, be it God or whatever, a personal God. I think the argument's pretty good, and I would like your friends to think about it and expand upon it. Now, the way I approach this, Father Francis, is in a unique way. I don't use the scientific method of statistics and mathematics. I do somewhat, classically used by the science community. I sort of tackle it from a broader base of the human experience. I created this term 7 billionism, and 7 billionism says, hey, there's more to scientifically measuring something, and there's more to logic in life to know something. There's what the 7 billion people on Earth experience. For example, if I observe something, and the 7 billion other people on the Earth observe the same thing, then it must exist. For example, in scientism, using the scientific method, Isaac Newton supposedly said when he observed an apple falling from the tree, he thought of gravity. Then you can measure it. You have formulas, mathematical formulas to say, hey, apple falls at a certain speed, it hits the ground with a certain force, and that's scientism. That's the scientific method. Yes, okay, but 7 billionism says we know more about the apple than science. We know its color. We know that there are apple orchards around the world. We know how much it costs a pound. We know the 7,000 varieties of them. You know if they taste well, how they look, what they cost, etc. So we know much more about them than the scientific method. The evidence is overwhelmingly in favor, based on the human singular theory, on the existence of a God-based evolution versus a godless-based evolution. Now, I'll repeat this again, that the spread of scientism is really subtly based on what's taught in the universities and really believed by the media and most leaders, that evolution is an accident. It's could not have happened by any driven force that's personal. And this is believed, and this leads to the godless mentality. This leads to the lack of Judeo-Christian values, the disappearance of them. They're very important, these values. We're losing the Ten Commandments. We're losing the Golden Rule. Where are people turning to? They like religion. It gives you comfort, besides the connection to God and a potential life after death. So where are they going now? They're going into spiritualism. They're going into yoga. God bless them. They're looking. They're searching. Vampire movies are all over the place now. People are looking fantasies. They're looking for something beyond mere existence, which sometimes, it's tough. Life is tough, So what I am saying is that we must teach people how to think broadly and not to be indoctrinated by the scientific method, which only measures a small part of life. It has no place in evaluating the existence of God and values. What I'm saying to you is that unless we reverse this scientism mentality, unless we get out there and spread the message with leaders, you must find effective leaders. Where are our leaders today? You're one of the few. It's tough to be a leader today. But we must find our leaders to challenge, open debate, scientism versus the human singular theory. And we will win. We will win, but you must develop those leaders. When you go on your journey to Africa and South America, you will initially succeed, because the beauty of Catholicism is, it's a beautiful thing. I know of it. It's a wonderful thing. But what will happen, as in Europe and as is beginning here in the United States, scientism through the internet will come to those continents. And what will happen? They will undergo what we're undergoing here in the West. So it's in your benefit, and it's in the benefit of mankind, that you find your leaders and spread this message of this letter to them. Let me emphasize, Father Francis, that time is not on your side. Technology is moving rapidly. I see it every day, particularly with the youngsters. But one important thing that I should have stressed up front, we need everyone involved, Protestants, the Jewish community, and even Muslims. In the letter, because I know the Muslim world, I've been involved in the Middle East, and I know many people, high levels, and I understand them. And in the letter, I propose a way that we can communicate with them and open the doors, a bridge to communication, which hopefully you'll agree with. And finally, for your information, the solitary physician, Italian-American first generation, is going to make a very modest effort to spread this message. It's an internet cell. In the old neighborhood, we used to say, the image is everything. And we need to create the image of the messenger. And you have the image. I have a little bit one. So I'm starting my own effort, and I hope you join with me. In the meantime, God bless you, and ciao.